Hello, and welcome to your Surgery Connect user console training. In this section, we will be looking at logging in, making a call, device management, using the softphone, settings, and logging out. Logging in.
To log into the user console, you'll need to log into our single sign-on window. To do that, open up a new browser window, and Surgery Connect is compatible with everything except Internet Explorer. So I have a new Google page open here. I'm going to click into the address bar up at the top. If I then start typing in our single sign-on, it's sso.x-onweb.com. That will then take you to a login page where you can then enter your NHS email address and password. If you ever forget your password, you can use the link at the bottom of this login page to reset your password through a link that will be sent to your NHS email address. When logging in, you'll be presented with 4 boxes. So you'll have the user console, support portal, softphone, and voicemail. Everything we need is in the user console. Now that we've logged into the user console, it will bring you to a screen that looks like this. You'll see calls on the left-hand side of the screen, and these will be all the inbound and outbound calls through the practice. Calls are colour-coded, so when they're inbound, they will show in green, outbound will show in blue, and any queuing calls will show as red in the calls list. It will identify the queue for your particular practice on the screen, so you'll be able to see which queue that call is in. Any calls in white are completed calls, and next to each completed call is the call recording for that particular call. Standard users on the system only have access to their own calls, whereas supervisors on the system have access to all calls for the practice. Calls can be searched and sorted using the icons at the top of the applet here. We currently have 1 page of calls, and the calls down at the bottom would span a 24-hour period. I know it's 24 hours because we have a little lightning strike here showing me I'm on my most recent calls, and that covers a 24-hour period. If I were to move to the archive calls button just next to it, that would give me calls over 24 hours, up to 3 years old when you've been with us for a 3-year period. On the right-hand side of the screen, we have the users. On my screen, the users are split up into groups. The members of those groups are the team members that would answer calls around that particular query. I can search, sort, and filter my groups and my users using the icons at the top of the applet. The blue person indicates that I'm on my internal user list, and if I were to move to the directory on the end, that would be my central directory, where I would not only have internal numbers for the practice, but also any external numbers that were useful across the practice as well. If I want to search a user, I can click on the magnifying glass at the top of the user applet, and then type in their name into the search box. That will then bring up the details for the particular user that I've searched, in this case, Joe Grant. Joe answers calls on behalf of appointments, pharmacy, and secretaries. So if I wanted to call Joe, I could ring her on her extension number, which is 220. Picking up my desk phone and dialing the number will put me through to Joe. If I didn't mind who I spoke to in the appointments team, however, I could ring 301. That will then ring the appointments team and will go through to whoever is next available to answer that call.
Making a call.
Now that I have Joe's contact details on the screen, I don't even have to dial the number on my desk phone if I don't want to. If I click on Joe's name, it will then bring up a call button. And if I click on call, that will call whichever device it is that I'm using to make and receive my calls. So if I've logged in the practice, it will ring my desk phone. When I answer my desk phone, it will then place the call to 220 as I've requested on the screen. And I could do exactly the same thing with my appointments number too. I click on the 301 for appointments, it will give me a call 301. Clicking on that button will call my desk phone, and when I answer my desk phone, it will then place the call to 301 as I've requested on the screen. If I move to the directory on the end, that will then bring up, as well as my internal numbers, a list of external numbers that may be useful to the practice. I can search the directory using the icons at the top of the applet. If I click in the search box and then search for a listing within the directory, and when I see the one that I want, I can click on it. That will bring the number up on the screen, so I could pick up my desk phone and dial the number manually, or I can just click on call, which will then ring my desk phone. I'll pick up my desk phone, and then it will place the call to John Jones at St Mary's as I've requested on the screen.
Device management.
Now that we've logged into the user console, we need to tell the system which phone we'd like to make and receive our calls on. Use your initials in the top right-hand corner of the screen. When you click on your initials, you'll be given your contact details. So this is my extension number on the training database, and these are the numbers that I could send my calls to. If you're logging in manually into the phone or using your NHS smart card, it will default to the work number. So if you're logged in the practice, you don't need to do this. However, if you would like your calls to come through a PC or laptop and use the soft phone on the screen to interact with them, or if you need to forward your calls to your own personal mobile or landline number, this is where you would need to do it. Before you can forward calls to any personal numbers, you'll need to speak to the practice manager to have those numbers added onto your user profile. If I'm working remotely, I can also change my status from here. So I can make myself do not disturb, which will turn me orange in the users list for everyone to be able to see. Or I can click onto outbound calls if I have a list of patients to call. That will turn me purple in the user list and mean that I can make as many outbound calls as I need to, accessing the clinical database in between times, but I won't be interrupted by any inbound calls into my extension number, either directly into my extension number through an internal call, or if I'm part of the group that takes inbound calls from patients.
Using the soft phone.
From the user console, you can access the dialer by clicking on the phone icon near your initials. That will bring the dialer up on the screen. If you've selected to use the system through a soft phone, the dialer will dial out through a PC or laptop. You can then interact with that call using a USB headset. When dialing a number, you can press the numbers on the screen using the mouse, or you can click into the box and type the number in using your keyboard. And even copy and paste. So if I have this number elsewhere, I can dial the number without having to type it in. When I click on the green phone, that will begin an audio call. The system will call out the number that we've typed in. And as soon as that person answers, the screen changes to a fully functioning phone. So I now have a mute button, so I can mute my microphone, a hold button, so I can put the caller on hold and play music. I can transfer from here. And so long as we're all logged into Surgery Connect, it doesn't matter where anyone's working. If I want to transfer internally, I can use an internal number for an individual or for the team if I don't mind who I speak to. I also have my video option here. So if I want to convert this to a video call, clicking on the video link will ask if I want to send the caller a text message. Clicking on send will automatically send a text message to the number that you've dialed. And when the patient receives that text, they can click yes, they're happy to use their camera, and yes, they'd like to begin a video call. Your audio call will then automatically drop and the video call will begin from the customer, from the patient. You can then answer the call, which will come directly to you. Whilst using the soft phone, if the patient doesn't want their call recording, you'd need to use the keypad to pause the recording. Keying *5 will pause the recording, and *5 again will resume the recording. Just like your desk phones, if you don't start the recording by the end of the call, your next call will be recorded automatically. If you have calls forwarded to your mobile, you won't have a transfer button on your keypad, but you can use *7 on the keypad to begin a transfer. The instructions will be given to you when you dial *7 to dial the number that you want to go through to. You can then dial internally or enter externally, and the phone will then ring. When you're ready to put the call through, press the hash key.
Settings.
To change how the screen is displayed, click on the menu button next to your initials. Within the menu, you'll need to click in Settings. That will then allow you to change the appearance of the screen, changing to a 50-50 split if you'd rather. And in the stats boxes, will allow you to turn on or off individual boxes, or if you don't want to see them at all, click on Show Panel at the top to remove all the boxes from the screen. You can also move the soft phone around through the menu. I keep mine in the bottom right-hand corner, but you could move it over to the left if you'd rather, or down to the bottom, even in the middle of the screen. I can also use the soft phone in free mode, particularly useful if I'm thinking about setting up a video call. When I click into free mode, it means that I can move the bar anywhere on the screen by dragging on the four-way cross. I can also maximize the phone to make it a full screen version. This way, when I dial a number and connect the call, if I'm converting to a video call, it will be a full screen image rather than the cutout in the corner that you would normally get with the soft phone. To resize the phone, use the two arrows at the top right-hand corner of the screen. A little bit of admin for you to do the first time that you log in. If you can come into the menu, into Settings and Other, and change the session idle timeout from the 30 minutes that it defaults to up to 10 hours. That will mean the web page will stay in the background all day if it needs to, but if you need it for the last call of the day, it will be able to respond quickly.
Logging out.
To log out, click on your initials in the top right-hand corner of the user console and change your status to logged out. That will stop any calls coming through either through the soft phone, on your mobile, or through your desk phone. You can then use the logout section in the menu to close down the windows for both the user console and the single sign-on window.
To recap on your User Console Surgery Connect training, today we looked at logging in, making and receiving calls, and logging out. Log in using sso.x-onweb.com. Once you are in the User Console, you will see your call list and your user list. Calling is the same whether you are in the practice or working remotely. The User Console gives you a real-time view of who's available. You can click to call using a direct or group call from the console, and there's no need to remember people's short dial or keep a list on your desk. The central directory is the digital phone book for your practice, where anyone can add useful numbers and you can click to call from any device. In the User Console, you can set your device management. Here, you can choose whether to use your home or mobile number if these are set up for working remotely. You can use your soft phone, and if you are using integration, it will log you into your work number automatically, or you can log in on your desk phone. You can also set whether you're available on Do Not Disturb, outbound calls, or you can log out. We also looked at how to use your soft phone. how to make calls using your desktop or laptop, and how to convert those calls into a video call if required. We also went through calling patients through integration, where you can use the keyboard to make the calls using the quick keys, or you can use the patient overview to make the call, using the click to call options. Don't forget to log out. If you're in the surgery, you can log out using your NHS smart card or using the log out button on your desk phone. If you are working remotely or using the user console, you can log out through your initials section.